Woo!
So I'm here with Quinnton Harris, and I'm actually in the future. I taped this without my audio by accident, but it's a creative moment to actually focus on Quinton's voice. Quinnton is an MIT trained engineer, architect, creative, business minded thinker in the creative way. Quinnton, tell us about yourself.
Hi, thank you so much, John. I'm here in Oakland, California, originally from Chicagoland area, a little town called Maywood, by way of MIT, actually. So I did undergrad at MIT. So we share alma maters. I studied mechanical engineering and architecture, and then also got a minor in visual arts. And I've been kind of bouncing around from doing work at advertising to tech startups. And now I work on John Maida's team at Publicis Sapient. And I'm really excited because I get to bring all the different facets of my skill sets that I've acquired over the years and try to apply them and nurture them and grow them under his leadership. So it's been incredible.
Quinnton is an MIT trained engineer, designer, and business minded thinker. Can you tell us more about the CX report cover?
Absolutely. So I remember when we were talking about just kind of the premise of what you wanted the theme of the CX report to be this year, and it was about infinite connection. And you would always stress to me, you say, "Hey, what's human about connection? What's the human side of connection?" And I thought about what does connectivity mean as a human being, but also between human beings. And I started to think about thinking about the body and how that is our means or our vehicle to connect with other people, right? We can connect outside the body virtually, but when we're connecting human to human, it's usually within our bodies. And so I started to think about different formations in which a body can kind of interact within this infinite symbol that you've created. And the composition kind of came together when I started to just play with body parts. I would take my iPhone and I would just start to play with certain things. I would have people around me, like people in the office in San Francisco. I was like, "Hey, pose like this." And they would pose and they would play around. And I finally came to this idea of overlapping hands through trial and error, actually. And it became a really strong concept. And so I ended up shooting my wife as the muse for this, and I'm using her hands and you know like delicately clad with gold, but trying to use kind of the texture in her skin, the contrast of her skin, and playing with the red and the infinity logo that you've created, the symbol that I've been told that is a symbol that you created years ago, um, trying to use that and really try to marry the textures together.
I know you're into chemical photography. How'd that happen? And also, you started out as an engineer. How did you become a designer?
Uh, so I learned actually photography using a digital camera at MIT. I did do some black and white photography, but primarily I was focused on digital. And I discovered analog outside of school. And there's something about the process that allows me to slow down and take in the emotions that I'm trying to convey. And it's a process that allows me to be purely intuitive. I think the digital camera, because I can get an immediate response, I'm able to make a lot of technical decisions very quickly and use the data from or the feedback from each of those shots to inform how to push the composition. But with film, it's almost like you have to feel the moment and you have to connect to the themes and the images and the shapes that you're experiencing in that moment. And at the end of it, when you take the frame, you have to trust in your understanding of the mechanics of the camera, but then you wait until it's developed and you see what you got. And I think that anticipation of using my gut, but then also relying on my technical ability, using that combination gives me a rich photograph that I don't think I could get with digital.
So, for people who are just starting out, what do you recommend? All analog? All digital? What's the best direction for them right now?
Somewhere in the middle. I think they both have different purposes. I tend to think that the analog side of the photography that I do is more of the art driven work, where so I don't need immediate feedback. I don't need to validate whether or not what I'm creating will generate a response. It's something that it's like as an artist, I'm approaching the canvas in a very particular way. And I think when we're creating delightful experiences for people, I think there is a balance of how artful the experience it is and how functional the experience needs to be. And I think when you want it to be purely functional, then you play in the realm of digital, in my opinion, because you can automate that. You can use machine learning and AI. You can use computational design to achieve faster outcomes. But when you're, trying to make something that is artful and a little bit more emotive, you may, you may consider more analog type of systems that create a texture, create a sense of um, uh, like unnatural but natural colors, right? Because the analog is an unnatural process, but it also produces these really interesting natural textured compositions. So I think it's a delicate balance and where you are in the experience that you want to create.
People who make things have a connection to other makers. I know that back in the day, Tony Stark wasn't really cool, MIT wasn't cool, but now it's okay. Why do you make things?
Absolutely. And to play on the Tony Stark analogy, I mean, for most people, I don't know if you're deep in the comics, but in the films, right? So the third film, Tony Stark was having a midlife crisis because he had experienced all the trauma that was associated with the aliens from the Avengers coming to Earth. He was having panic attacks and he was having anxiety, battles with anxiety, and he was having confidence issues. And the way he would try to cope with that is by tinkering and making things. And I realized that, like, in this moment right now in this country, there's a lot of trauma that my people have experienced. And the only way that I've been able to really cope with that trauma is by making or tinkering. Or in this particular case, with the Hella Juneteenth project, I was doing a virtual happy hour with a group of friends. I started up a small collective of people, creative professionals. Most of them live in the Bay, but we also have extensions of folks who live on the East Coast. And we were reacting to what was happening in the world, and we were making space for each other. But we all felt like we needed a moment where we can celebrate and have joyous occasions, and really try to find the hopefulness in the moment, because that's what's gotten us through a lot of this, right? We're angry, we're frustrated, we're bitter, but we're able to, if we can connect back to what gives us joy, that would be what we wanted to look for. And Juneteenth as a celebration came in the conversation, and we kind of all were like, oh, well, it's COVID, but we can do a social distancing picnic. Um, when is Juneteenth? Oh, it's Friday. Oh, most of us work jobs. Maybe we should take the day off. And we were like, actually, yeah, we're going to take the day off. And this is before we had any conception that we were going to motivate companies to give people the day off. But we just very quickly came to the assertion that we're going to take this moment and experience the Black joy that we deserve right now. And it was a beautiful, beautiful moment, because on that call, with John, I've learned to just be generative, right? So I took the Zoom call and I shared my screen. I started drawing and I was showing people some ideas, some concepts, and we very quickly came up with a declaration. And then we gave ourselves that Saturday to come up with a website experience, because we knew that we didn't just want this to be a declaration. We wanted to give people a tool or something that they can use to get the day off, quote unquote. So the first iteration of the site was to, provide people with a templated response to send to their employers to ask for the day off. And instead of really asking for the day off, it's more of, hey, I'm taking the day off because this matters to me. And so that was kind of the posture. And from there, we launched that in less than 48 hours. So we did the website in 8 hours on Saturday. We sent it out on Saturday. It went viral Sunday, Monday. Jack Dorsey, who is the CEO of Twitter and Square, retweeted us on Tuesday, and he basically made a call to action to all the companies. If you're serious about supporting Black lives right now, you should be serious about celebrating a holiday we call Juneteenth.
So you built awareness with this website, and then you switched to more of a product mindset. You were setting targets to make change happen. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I think John, you've always kind of coached me on this idea of like how can I make something useful for someone else? And for us, the moment when we decided that we needed to take the day off and celebrate, we knew that as in our circle, we had the ability to do that. Right. We had the like the know-how, we had the relationships to be able to take the day off, but that might not be the case for everyone. So how do we enable other people to take the day off or celebrate in the way that we wanted to celebrate? And that's an important question because like what becomes useful, like what is useful is now the definition of what product you have to build. And for us, it was a communications product. And it was really understanding the three parts. So what is Juneteenth and how do you become educated about it? Why should you take Juneteenth off and how you should celebrate it? And then the third thing is like, how do you motivate the people around you to do the same, right? And the people around us in this case were the companies. And so when Jack Dorsey tweeted our website, we knew that he was putting a call to action to the companies. And John, I would give you this credit. And when we were talking about this was about a week ago, this is literally 7 days ago, you said, um, you have to show, you have to demonstrate the number, or you have to give people the ability to see how many people have joined you on this movement. And you didn't tell us what to do, but you said, where's the running ticker? Where's the rap sheet? And it immediately thought about like, oh, I have an idea in terms of being able to give brands the ability to communicate that they support us. And when you see one brand doing one thing, then it's a cascade effect, right? Like you had Twitter and Square be the first companies. So that was not only a call to action to large businesses, that was a call to action to tech. And so then you have other spaces, right? There was a petition that came out from like a group of advertising professionals that demanded that they be treated more fairly within the industry. And we and you can see that even in our company list of companies, we have a large representation of some of the bigger ad agencies like Ogilvy and Huge and a couple other folks. And then by virtue of these big companies kind of saying what they're saying or making the declarations that they're making, I can't forget the smaller companies or even just the smaller businesses that stood with us as well. And so there's a plenty of small shops, whether they're branding shops or tech shops, tech startups that have shown solidarity. And it's been a wonderful to see this. Like we're over 220 companies right now. And Netflix was, if you scroll all the way down to like the live page, Netflix was one of the latest people to join. Netflix, TikTok, McKinsey, IDEO, Spotify.
It was just a few
Yeah.
companies, and it's grown. It keeps changing.
Oh, absolutely. It's already old. And what we're telling folks is it's never too late. And we're getting, my team is getting requests like right now as we speak. And it's funny. So it was just myself and three other people in this happy hour that were starting to, or maybe four other people that were starting to ideate this thing when we started maybe 10 days ago, not even 10 days ago. But then the momentum allowed us to build an actual team, a response team, and really kind of break up the work into different flows. So like this is version 2 of the website that you're seeing. And I was on that. I led that track because I had a clear idea of what the product needed to be. And I had another designer who was in our community that I worked with to do that. And I did the design and the development for the site. We had another team that was working on the partnership front, doing all the inbound partnerships with the companies, but then also reaching out to different companies, different folks within the diversity and inclusion spaces within these companies. Because a lot of us as Black professionals have really small networks of people out here in the Bay, at least, that we could leverage. And then we had another track of work where they were responsible for communications and PR and making sure that everything, our message for this week has been consistent. And we have also another group of people who want to throw live events. So it just came together like in a very short amount of time. And I like to say that we made a company overnight, and it's all Black people, you know.
Well, although Tony Stark is fictional, you're the real deal MIT alum. You make, and through making, you change the world. Any advice for folks out there?
It's important to remember the things that bring us joy, especially in times where it's really hard to see the bright spots in the world. You know, what's given me a lot of hope is my mother has been through similar things, like as what we're seeing right now. My grandmother, and they would share stories about how even when the world wasn't looking, they had to kind of move forward, and the way that they would do that was by finding joy in their family, in the arts, in technology, even in making things. And it's, I think, more than ever, more important for people like me um, to find that joy in the things that we make and be unapologetic about what those things are that we do make. And I think this was a testament in just a group of us just wanting to celebrate Juneteenth. And we just didn't care if anybody else wanted to. We just wanted to make it known that we're going to celebrate Juneteenth, and we're going to celebrate it this way. So